song and all of Pat's works with The Whole Truth on Spotify or wherever you get music. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Scott Fox After 9. Brand new day. We are getting closer and closer to the May 2-4 long weekend, halfway there now. And coming up on this episode, all your favorites, like all your favorites. Premier Doug Ford, Prime Minister Mark Carney, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre on this episode. There's lots to talk about. We had a cabinet shuffle yesterday, sort of. What's new is old. We'll explain coming up. We're also going to talk about the 407. And to do that, I bring in the great Anna Almeida. Hi, Anna. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. In front of you, and this is rare for a Wednesday, we have some listener DMs.
Yeah.
Covering a number of different topics. And the reason we're going to do listener DMs today is because I don't think we could fit them all in for typical listener DM Friday. So stick around. There's lots of great stuff coming up on this episode. On our radio show today, I got a request for what you need to know, because apparently I haven't done it in the last few days. Okay, so let me check that off the list. Gas prices went up again overnight. $1.37.9 after a 1 cent increase. Anna, is it possible that the consumer carbon tax being gone is giving these gas stations cover to raise prices beyond what is fair?
Ooh, I like the way you're thinking. Yes.
I think a lot of people think that.
Yes, absolutely. It shouldn't be this expensive. And we know it doesn't have to be this expensive.
No, I mean, they're paying like roughly $1 a liter.
It's terrible.
In America, and we're at $1.37.9. It's not right.
No.
Especially when it's mainly our oil. We just have to send it down to the States to get refined. It comes back up here and bam.
It's just ridiculous. Come on. Like even last month before the election, things went down. We know that we can afford, they can afford to drop it to 117, 120, 136. And then they'll be like, but we dropped it a cent. Oh,
yeah, thanks for
Thank
nothing.
you.
The oil prices are a lot lower than they were. You know what I got to think? Because I can't think of another reasonable explanation is this is partially to do with the carbon tax, and it's also to do with the fact that the election's over. And there's a long weekend coming.
long weekend every time. I try to fill up before a long weekend because I know prices are going to go up.
I think they're taking advantage of people. The Canadian dollar traded overseas this morning at 71.88 cents US. On the calendar, today is National Third Shift Workers Day. What's up to the people who work overnight? It's also National Buttermilk Biscuit Day and National Receptionist Day. Nobody won the Lotto Max last night. That's up to $25 million on Friday. Good luck. And today, there's a couple celebrities celebrating birthdays. Mark Zuckerberg has got more money than we could even imagine.
Hate that guy.
He's only 41.
Oh my gosh.
41 years old today.
41 and so freaking rich.
Danny from New Kids on the Block is 56. Fab from Milli Vanilli is 59. And George Lucas, the guy behind Star Wars, turns 81. It was also today, Anna, in 1878, the first tub of Vaseline was sold.
I love Vaseline. I use it every day on my lips. My mouth lips, it's good.
I understand.
It's good for dry.
It would have been a great segue into the Diddy story. But
I know.
We're going to save Diddy because what came out of yesterday from Cassie Ventura's testimony is gross. What he wants the male prostitute to do to her and then her to do to him is awful. But we'll get to that, and we're also going to talk about the World Juniors. The hockey players that are on trial in London, yesterday they wrapped up cross-examination of EM. And I don't know if we got any closer, but there are some people taking exception to somebody calling it a party game when you do the splits naked over somebody's face.
Whoa, man, things are changing since I was young.
I don't know what kind of parties y'all are going to, but I've never once thought to do that.
No.
I also couldn't do the splits if I wanted to.
I played Twister, but we had our clothes on and we reached for a color. Like, this is just very different.
Today is also the anniversary of the day that Seinfeld aired its last ever episode. It was tonight in 1998, the last episode of Seinfeld aired.
And people are still angry about how it ended. I could care less because I didn't like Seinfeld. But I know people who really do and still are bringing up how terrible it was.
There's a couple of finales that just didn't sit well. The Sopranos finale.
I knew you were going to say that. People talk about that one still to this day.
Yeah, it bugs me. The Jays lost last night against Tampa Bay, but tonight is Dalton Varsho Gold Glove bobblehead night. First 15,000 fans get one. It'll be a lot cheaper to get a ticket to the Jays game than the Leafs game tonight. It is Game 5 between the Leafs and Panthers.
Oh, but it's going to be so much fun. Like the Toronto crowds, everybody's going to be happy, especially when we win both games.
It's going to be a zoo down there, Anna. Mm-hmm. If you're around Bremner Boulevard tonight, especially with the Leafs and the Jays getting out at the same time, that's going to be chaos on the GO train.
Well, and if you have a friend that lives downtown, today's the day to ask them if you can crash. That's my recommendation.
Do it. Stay downtown.
Yeah.
Get a hotel or something. Okay, let's jump into it. I'm going to start off provincially. If you're listening to us across Canada, thank you very much. I'm going to give you a brief history lesson. We've got a premier here in Ontario that you've likely heard of. His name is Doug Ford. Doug is on his third majority government right now. 3 times he's been elected with a majority in Ontario. And one of Doug's things is he says he likes to make life more affordable. And he's done a number of things. He canceled the need to pay to renew your license plate sticker. He has cut the gas tax. Yesterday, he made that permanent. So the price isn't actually going to go down any more than it is. It's just going to stay this low because he's making the gas tax cut permanent. It saves us about 5 cents a liter, but it's big money for the government to not have that revenue.
Oh, yeah.
He also talked about the 407. That is our express toll route, toll highway here in Ontario. And it's not a particularly long highway, but it goes from one end of Toronto out to the other end. It costs a lot of money to use it, even if you have a transponder. It's $1 to get on, $1 to get off, and about 55 cents a kilometer in peak periods. 55 cents a kilometer.
It adds up really quickly.
Anna, if you drive one exit,
Yeah.
by the time you pay the on fee, the off fee, and the tolls for that, one exit can cost you $5.
It's wild.
It's insanity is what it is.
It is.
So Premier Ford here has got some tough decisions to make. He knows that our highways are almost at capacity. And what he wants to do is build a tunnel under the 401. And he thinks that's the solution to gridlock. Now, the problem here is it's going to take like 20 years to build a tunnel. We should have flying cars by the time the tunnel is done, and then we won't need a tunnel. However, there is another option. He could buy back the 407 from the foreign conglomerate that it was sold to in the 90s and make it free. He could do that because the highway is already built. There's no construction costs. We just buy it and turn off the toll takers. Why won't he do that? Let's hear a little bit from Premier Ford yesterday making his announcement. Then we'll get to the Q&A.
Since day one, our government has been focused on putting more money back into the pockets of the families right here in Durham Region and across the hard-working taxpayers of Ontario. It's simple. We believe that taxpayer money belongs to the taxpayers, not to the government, and so every chance we get, we're giving taxpayers back more of what's theirs. Over the last few years, our focus on keeping costs down has been so important as families struggled with the cost of high inflation and record interest rates. That's why at every opportunity, our government has cut taxes, frozen and removed government fees, and handed money back to families. We fought the job-killing federal carbon tax until it was finally removed this year.
First off, do you think getting rid of the carbon tax had even a minuscule amount to do with Doug Ford?
No.
Because I don't think it did.
No.
I mean, I don't blame him for wanting to take credit for it. And sure, he's been opposed to it. But I don't know that Doug did anything to get rid of the carbon tax after he lost it in court. The reason we don't have a carbon tax is because of Pierre Poilievre. He was the one who beat that drum to the point where even Mark Carney said, we got to get rid of it because the country is divided on it. That was not because of Doug Ford. It was because of Pierre.
But I find, do they ever laugh behind closed doors when they're making these speeches up? Like, oh, yeah, that's great, man. Yeah, put that in there.
Yeah, people will believe this.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows that it wasn't Doug that got rid of the carbon tax. I mean,
gosh.
he can take his share of credit for it, I guess, but I don't think that his means any more than ours. I don't think that Doug Ford could phone Mark Carney and say, you know, the rest of the carbon tax that we're still paying, you got to get rid of that. I don't think Carney would agree with Doug or it would have any impact at all. Pierre is the reason we don't have a carbon tax. So we got to make that clear. Now here's the rest of Premier Ford's statement.
Road tolls, and we gave $200 rebates back to every taxpayer and eligible child in the province. We also cut the license sticker fee, froze fees for driver's licenses and photo ID cards, and ended the Drive Clean program. All told, our measures for drivers have put over $1.8 billion back in the pockets of taxpayers annually. As a result, Ontario families now have thousands of dollars more every single year that they can use to buy groceries, to fill up their cars, to pay their mortgage, and look after their kids. But now, in the face of President Trump's tariffs, which are rising the cost of everyday essentials, we need to do even more. So today, I'm announcing that as part of our upcoming budget, our government will be making our temporary cuts to gas and fuel tax rates permanent. Absolutely. Saving households on an average of about $115 per year going forward. That builds on the $1.7 billion our government has saved families since the temporary gas and fuel tax cuts were first introduced in July of 2022. And we're not stopping there. We're here next to the 407 East in Durham, which is the largest stretch of provincially owned tolled highway in Ontario. Today, I'm pleased to announce that starting June the 1st, 2025, tolls from Brock Road to Highway 35, 115 are coming off the 407.
That does nothing for the vast majority of Toronto and the GTA. Nothing. I get that it's a nice bonus there for the folks that are in the East End. If you happen to be going east, that's great that you can drive the 407 for free. But again, it does nothing for everybody else.
No, we're mostly congested west, and the 40. Yeah, there's quite a few things too. Also, hiding behind the tariffs as well. Where's this money that it's supposed to be helping? Like, I don't know where it is. I haven't seen thousands of dollars being back in the bank accounts.
No.
But the hiding behind the tariff statements over and over and over. Like, I'm over it.
Are these politicians seeing something that we're not?
Exactly.
Because these tariffs have been in place for a while now.
Yeah.
They haven't affected me.
No.
Nothing.
No.
Like, even the grocery prices haven't gone crazy.
It's been the same.
So I don't quite know what battle we're fighting
Right?
here or what war we're in and when we're supposed to put our elbows up, apparently. But it's not the way they're portraying it. And I'm not quite sure why they're still going with this.
Yeah.
But the premier was asked a question about the 407. A good reporter said to him, why don't you just buy it back? Because, Anna, I'll be honest with you. Everybody I talk to and the topic of gridlock comes up, they say the same thing.
It's awful.
We're all in agreement here. Buy back the 407. And if it's not for sale, annex it. Tell them, yeah, it is for sale. It's ours and we're taking it. And if you don't like it, sue us. Mm-hmm. Why don't we do that? I don't understand. Premier Ford was asked about that. Here's his response.
But the 407, all 400 series highways will be maxed out in the next 10 years. We know 401's maxed out. I drive by there at midnight and I don't know where everyone's going. It's absolutely jammed at midnight. So we're going to move forward with that, that tunnel. It's going to be a great project. And I just want to remind everyone, there was naysayers and our team remembers this. When we first came into office in 2018, by 2019, we rolled out our plan to build transit. And we decided to build the largest transit expansion in North America. And right now we're spending, I believe it's about $70 billion on transit, Prab, if I'm not mistaken, and Peter. And everyone says, oh, back of a napkin. Remember the old back of a napkin comments? Well, that back of a napkin, it's just incredible. In 6 years, they went out and got the bids, they got the boring machines, they were boring along Eglinton West ahead of time by about 4 to 6 weeks. We have Scarborough going, we're getting the Young North going, the Ontario line is going, and those are really complicated digs, really complicated. And
what is he talking about?
Who knows?
That's relatively easy compared to going underneath buildings downtown and buying up houses and so on and so forth. So, folks, we're going to get it done. And we're getting it done for our generation because I look over here, we're all about the same vintage, except a couple of young guys, Letch and Prab. But we won't be using it, but these guys will be using it. And their kids will be using it and so on and so forth. So
I'm going to cut off the premier here because I think I know where he's going with this. He's saying we're going to need it eventually, so we start building it now, and then future generations will be able to enjoy it. And I don't even disagree with the premier. Maybe this is a once-in-a-generation investment to build a tunnel. But the problem here that Doug is not seeming to understand, that he's not connecting with here, is that regular people have a serious freaking problem right freaking now. and they want results.
Yes.
And he's doing nothing for us. I don't understand why, when you've got the option, do we invest billions now into a tunnel that won't be ready for 20 years? We also have no idea what Ontario is going to look like in 20 years. We might be anything from driving flying cars to all-American at that point. We might be.
Never know.
20 years from now isn't going to solve the problem now. We need something now. Now, wouldn't it be amazing if we already had a highway that was built that went right through Hamilton, Burlington, Mississauga, Milton, Toronto, past the airport, carried on through Woodbridge, Vaughan, North York, and all the way out into the East End? We do have one. Get it back.
Get it back. And it's just funny to me when he's like, oh, I'm driving at midnight. Like, where are these people going? To work. Where are you going at midnight that you're so concerned about where those people are going? And yeah, the money. He also talked about, doing the construction for better roads and operations in the city, not having to go undergrounds. And it was a relatively easy dig. What do you think the 401 is going to be? It's not going to be easy.
I think he's trying to say that it will be easy because you don't have to go under buildings.
It's not. Okay? Like, give me a break.
I know. And, he is right, though. It is complete gridlock at midnight.
It's wild.
And it's just because of volume. Doesn't it just make so much sense that if we got some of the volume off the 401 and moved it to another highway that's only 10 kilometers north of there, that would make things a heck of a lot easier. There's people who take the 401 because there's no other route to get where they're going.
Yes.
Why don't we just open up the 407? And you know what? I don't want to see us spend money to buy back something that we already sold. Mm-hmm. And we're going to pay a lot more to get it back than it probably cost to build it in the first place. The company is making so much money that owns the 407, they probably don't want to sell it. Well, that's all the reason to take it back. They're making a ton of money off of this thing. Way more than their original investment. Get the people back their highway. Why is this so contentious? And you know what? Maybe I'll give Doug the benefit of the doubt here. Maybe it's not possible. Maybe he has heard people saying, buy back the 407. Maybe he looked into it and they said, get out of here. It's not for sale. That's when we need to say, as a province, we don't care what you think of us. We don't care if you no longer consider us a reliable business partner. It's our goddamn highway. We're taking it back and we're making it free because that's the only way that we can solve this gridlock problem. I almost fell over, Anna, when Doug said we spent $70 billion on transit.
On what?
Yeah, on what is the first question. The second question is, did it work? Because if things are this bad after a $70 billion investment in transit, then maybe transit doesn't work.
No. And if you want to be a hero, Mr. Ford,
he does, by the way. He would love to be. I think Doug likes to be liked.
Of course he does. And you can tell.
You can tell he does, right? And that's fine. He's a likable guy. I like him. But for the life of me, I cannot understand where he's coming from on this. Doug, either come out and say, we looked into it, it can't be done. Or we're looking into it, we're going to get a deal done. Give us something here, because if you tell us it just plain can't be done, some people will piss and moan about that. The rest of us are just going to move on and try and find other solutions. But if it can be done, stop playing games with us here. He was asked a direct question about buying back the 407 and fluffed off the answer.
Oh, yeah, no.
Doug, I don't know. Maybe he's got polling numbers that says people love gridlock and people like paying more.
Right.
I don't know. But I'm here to tell you, regular folks have had enough. You know what else I don't understand about the 407, Anna?
What?
I live in Burlington. There's 4 exits, I believe, on the 407 in Burlington. I live there, I pay taxes there, and I pay all the other taxes throughout the province and throughout the country. Why is it that to get around my own city that I pay to live in, I have to pay tolls? I think the least they could do for the 407 is you can use it in your own community for free. In other words, if I take the 407 from one exit in Burlington, say Appleby, to Dundas, I stayed in Burlington, I live in Burlington, that's a free trip. If you live in Mississauga and take it from one exit to another exit, as long as you stayed in Mississauga, there's no charge. We don't charge people to drive around in their hometown. It's nonsense, Anna. When is Doug Ford going to come out and say one way or the other? No more vagueness. Just tell us the truth. We tried to buy it back, but they said no. We tried to buy it back, but they want too much money. Just tell us what's going on so that we can make our own assessment here. But he's just playing with us, not giving us any info.
Yeah, try harder. That's all I'm saying.
And
if you
do
want-
better. If you spend
Yeah.
$70 billion on transit and this is the result, then that's a failure.
It's a huge failure. But if you want to be a hero, like I feel like you do, then buy it back. Figure it out. I don't care if you're taking money out of your friends' pockets, whatever. Make the people happy.
Yeah. And you know what? Even if they low tolled it, maybe not no toll, maybe low toll. At least make it affordable.
Yes.
No one should have to be sitting on the 427, the highway that goes near the airport. They shouldn't be sitting there thinking, if I go south and get on the 401, it's going to take me an hour and a half to get home. If I go north 2 kilometers and take the 407, I'll be home in 25 minutes.
Isn't that incredible?
And that's literally the choice that people have to make. But if they take that 25-minute drive instead of the 90-minute one, it's going to cost them $60.
That's groceries.
That's groceries.
That's a bill.
Like, Doug,
Come on.
please answer the goddamn question. Why can't we have the 407 back? Are you just no money? Are you prioritizing the tunnel over the 407? What is it?
We
Is it
don't
not
want
for
the
sale?
tunnel.
Well, you know what, though? I'm going to disagree because I do think I'll say it. I don't think the tunnel's a bad idea because if the highways are going to be at capacity within 10 years, it's reasonable to think that even if we did buy back the 407, it would also be at capacity fairly soon because we keep letting people come here, apparently. We might need that tunnel in 20 years, and it won't be available then if we don't start now. So I don't hate the
I hate
idea.
it.
I just think that it should be lower on the priority list.
Thank you.
Build your Bradford bypass. I don't think we need the 413 at all if we buy back the 407, and that might be part of Doug's calculation. Yikes, if we buy back the 407, we don't even need to build the 413, and I promised people we would build the 413. We don't need the 413. Let the farmers keep their land. You don't need to expropriate any more land. No more environmental assessments and studies. Leave it. There's already a highway built, and it goes the same place that the 413 will. Hopefully people across Canada are following along here. Maybe you need to look at a map or something. I don't know. Maybe you're not interested in this. But for folks in Ontario, this is a big deal. And we have a premier now on his third majority who is not addressing what is a major concern for people. Not the least of which is if we're spending now I'm getting hot.
I know.
If
I
we're
love it, though.
spending $70 billion on transit, how in the hell does Milton and Kitchener not have two-way, all-day, everyday GO service? How is that even possible that a massive city or area like Waterloo Region doesn't have two-way, all-day, everyday GO service? How? The Milton line. They've built Milton up from a town of 30,000 to 150,000 in 15
wild.
years, and they still don't have reliable GO service. 3 trains in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. You miss them? F you. You're screwed. Take an Uber. It's nuts, Anna.
It's nuts. And I'm okay. Like, break a promise. I've had men break promises to me over the years. I'm okay with it. So if this is the one you're going to do, get us back our 407. Do what you need to do. And then Scott, I won't send him, Doug, I won't send Scott your way. Okay?
Well, it's I can't imagine a scenario where they haven't at least inquired. They haven't at least phoned the 407 and said, hey, listen, we're under some pretty intense pressure here. Can you guys lower your rates or can we just buy it back?
Yeah, I know.
Did anybody have that conversation? And if they did, what was the answer? And if the answer was, it's not for sale, we're making way too much money, we'll never sell it. Okay, then we're going to have to turn into dicks and we're going to have to annex it. But that's just the way it goes.
Everything's for sale.
Everything is for sale.
For a price, everything's for sale.
Thank you for saying that, Anna. You're absolutely right. Okay, that was a lot of Premier Ford. I apologize for that, but I know that there's people probably sitting in traffic right now.
know.
The ultimate irony, listening to this pod thinking, get out of here, Doug. Get this damn highway back. And it does fall on him. Third majority. There's no excuses. Traffic has gotten worse, not better. Doug has an obligation to fix this.
And please don't get out of your car and start digging that tunnel, okay? Just give yourself some time.
He does have that little red shovel. No, I mean, overall, I don't have a lot of bad things to say about the premier, but on this particular topic, I think he's dead wrong, and I'd love to debate him about it. I would love to. I'd love for Doug to sit across from me right now where you are, Anna, and I want to talk out the transit and the moving people around stuff because there's so many different balls up in the air, and maybe Doug can't relate. He's got an OPP security detail that drives him around. Maybe they just go lights and sirens when there's a traffic jam and he doesn't need to sit in it. The rest of us do, and it's really a matter of, is it worth $50 to make it to my kid's softball game tonight?
I know.
And that's the kind of choice that parents have got to make.
Yeah.
This conglomerate that owns the 407 is making money hand over fist.
Yeah.
It's insanity.
I'll
anyway,
make the popcorn and watch you too. That's what I'm saying. Let's get
He's
her
not
done.
going to do it.
Absolutely not, because he's scared. I said it. I say it. There.
I don't even think it's a scared thing.
I think it is.
I think his people won't let him do it. And I think that that's wrong because I think Doug is a smart man who can very well articulate his point. I just think his people won't let him do it. It's not just me. He won't sit down with anybody. He just does not do interviews. Even with friendly media, he doesn't do interviews.
Well, it's because he doesn't answer the question.
Well, that's true, too. There's no point doing an interview if you're not going to answer the question. Okay, so that was some politics and some current event stuff. I'm going to leave the cabinet stuff from the Prime Minister and Pierre Poilievre's response till the end. I want to get some other stuff on the radar. Yesterday, another interesting day at the Diddy trial. Cassie was on the stand again, Anna.
Yeah.
And some gross stuff came out. I'll read you the story that I have here in front of me. Cassie Ventura testified she felt scared to refuse Diddy's requests for frequent freak-off encounters. She says she participated to avoid his anger and potential blackmail. Cassie says in 2016, she suffered from a Diddy beating. There were violent arguments that usually resulted in some form of physical abuse. There was a pre-Grammys party where it took place. It was in the Beverly Hills mansion. Jamie Foxx and Jay-Z were apparently there and saw it. Well, I don't remember Jamie Foxx or Jay-Z filing a police report that Diddy beat the hell out of his girlfriend.
Absolutely not.
Cassie also testified, and I'm going to put a warning on this one if you've got kids in the car right now. Cassie also testified that Diddy demanded the male escorts that he hired to do his girlfriend, Cassie. He wanted them to finish on her, and then he wanted her to take the, what do we call it in a nice way? Jizz.
Thank you. I was like, oh, what is a nice way? Wow.
She wanted him, or he wanted her. Diddy wanted Cassie to take that escort's product.
Yes.
Pull it off of herself and massage it into his nipples, Diddy's nipples. Another guy's jizz rubbed into his nipples.
I don't know what kind of weird twisted power trip. It's just a lot.
Is that a turn on for some guys? I don't know. Like, is that a gay thing or what?
I have no idea, but I guess it's just like that power of being able to say, this is what I want. I want you to do this. And, you know, she'd be on freak offs for days on end sometimes.
Yep.
It's a lot.
Apparently, these people were so drugged up. They didn't know what their name was, what day it was, if it was night or day. They were just so out of it that Diddy would get them into a state of compliance because they were so drugged up. Then he'd give them Viagra or whatever else and order them to go at it again. And he would just sit there and pleasure himself.
Yeah, in the corner. It's just, it's all just disgusting. And that video that was released by CNN of her getting attacked by Diddy near the elevator, and she openly discussed that was after a freak off. She took off running, and he was in the shower at the time. So she thought, this is the perfect way. I need to get out of here. And then that's when he came out with the towel and grabbed her, threw her down and kicked her. So
crazy.
She was trying to get away.
Cassie testified that the turbulent 10-year relationship became consumed by Combs' violence and his obsession with a form of voyeurism where he was controlling the whole situation. Cassie sniffled and dabbed her eyes with a tissue, sighed heavily, and paused to compose herself throughout the 5 hours of testimony Tuesday at Combs' sex trafficking trial. Combs has pled not guilty. They're actually going to try and make the case here that all of this stuff happened, but it was completely consensual.
Well, and people are saying like, 10 years back and forth. Why didn't she just leave? She is a victim, and you get scared, and they know how to manipulate you. And it's not just easy for someone to walk away. It's almost easier to stay with the devil you know than to leave and try to rebuild, especially with voyeurism. When he's taped her doing these acts, indecent acts, she was scared that it was going to be used as blackmail.
Well, you know, Diddy is a very well-connected individual. It's not just him that could have an impact on her. I mean, all Diddy has to do is pick up the phone and say, hey, Cassie wants to put out a new record, eh? No, nobody is signing her. Nobody's giving her a record deal. And she probably won't get a record deal. He's got that kind of power. And unfortunately, you don't know until you're in there with him what he's like. Trying to get out of that is near impossible. I don't even know how they ended up breaking up. Did he just find somebody else?
Oh, I just think she just finally took off. I'd love to know, because I don't recall him being with other people in such a public manner. But when they first got together, she came to realize that, you know, she was one of his many girlfriends. It wasn't just like the main girl. So, and that her first real like sexual experiences as an adult was with Diddy. So at first she was infatuated. This man with this power is enticing. And then from there, it kind of just escalated. Like the first freak offs, she was like, oh, I wanted to make him happy. And then it just consistently happened over and over. And then she was so far in, she didn't know how to get out. So,
and I think that happens with a lot of people who are being trafficked.
Oh, it's just terrible. And then people are coming to his defense. He may be an abuser, but he's not a sex trafficker.
Get
right?
out of here.
That's like what we're seeing too. It's like,
how can you see that? Oh yeah, he's obviously terrible, but he didn't traffic anybody.
No.
Where do you think the escorts came from?
like, it's wild.
He was trafficking Cassie out to friends.
Yep.
It's insanity.
I just feel so
I don't know why
much.
we're having a trial for this. I mean, it's obvious to me what happened here.
And she's going to sit again and speak and remember all these things she's probably tried to suppress all these years because it's so traumatizing, you know?
By the way, we don't have evidence for this, but I want to ask the question anyway. Is it reasonable to assume that if he did these things with Cassie, he did them with the other girls that we know he was linked with? And I'm thinking about J-Lo.
Oof.
And I'm thinking about his ex-wife. And I'm thinking about all the other women that he's been linked with over the years. I think it's probably safe to assume he's always been into this stuff, and they were probably implicated in some way too.
And then not realizing, just like what Cassie said, he's so alluring. He brings you in. He has this power. If you're, even let's say J-Lo, she got her record deal by dating him. You know what I mean? Like she was doing the movie Selena. He saw her. She appeared in his music video. And then the relationship started from there. I love J-Lo. That's how I know all this. But, and she doesn't ever talk about Diddy. She's very, very private when it comes to that relationship, which is interesting because she's a very public person. I mean, she just put out a music video of her love for Ben Affleck, who she's no longer with. So, yeah, more and more celebrities are going to be indicted in this, and we're going to hear a lot more. But it is sad. Just because he abused her doesn't mean he's a sex trafficker. Okay.
That's a ridiculous argument.
Good one.
We'll talk about the World Junior players in just a sec. First off, authorities say a man who attacked rapper Tory Lanez in a California prison is an inmate serving a life sentence for second-degree murder who was previously convicted of an in-prison assault with a deadly weapon. Lanez is listed in fair condition as of yesterday, the day after an attack at a housing unit at a California correctional institution in California, where he is serving a 10-year sentence for shooting Megan Thee Stallion in the foot. Prison officials identified the alleged attacker as 42-year-old Santino Casio. Casio is serving time for convictions of second-degree murder and first-degree attempted murder in 2008. He was sentenced to more than 6 years for assault by a prisoner with a deadly weapon.
Wow.
How many times did he stab Tory Lanez in jail? 14 times.
14 and 2 collapsed lungs. He's lucky to be alive.
He is.
Very lucky, to be honest with you.
How does that? I mean, I don't know anything about jail. Full stop. I don't know how it works. How do people get weapons in jail? I thought that the job one of the prison guards was to keep the weapons out of it. In fact, most of them don't carry weapons, so that weapon can't be used against them.
Yeah, but
how do you get in with a knife?
You make weapons. Things break, and then you use sharp edges, and then you use tape. I've never been to jail, but that's what I've heard.
How do you stab somebody 14 times before a guard comes in and breaks it up?
Well, that's just it, and that's what people are wondering. And now,
is Tory Lanez not in some sort of segregated area because he's a celebrity?
No, he's just out there just with everybody else, and that's where it happened. And now people are concerned that there's going to be a war between two groups at the jail. Like this is like the starting of something.
Is Tory Lanez being a boss in jail?
I don't know if he's being a boss, but I'm sure he probably is connected to people, and now they're just going to have like a gang war in the jail. I mean, that guy's the one who stabbed him is never getting out. So what does he have to lose? He doesn't care.
But that's the thing, right? If somebody's serving a life sentence, maybe they should be segregated because they have nothing to lose. They're a danger.
That's a good point. Yeah. And I mean, maybe Tory Lanez thought because of who he is that he would maybe get some special treatment or parental or treatment from the other inmates, maybe a respect thing. I don't know. And this guy clearly showed him, you're just like us here. Ain't nobody better than anybody else.
As Tory Lanez lays in a hospital bed right now, recovering from 14 stab wounds, preparing to go back to jail to serve the rest of his 10-year sentence, I wonder if at any point it's crossed his mind it really wasn't worth it to be rolling around L.A. carrying a gun and pull it out and have that shot go into Megan Thee Stallion's foot.
I know. It's
like
scary.
When you think back, I don't know how angry he was or what set him off back then, But this is exactly why you ask yourself, is it worth it?
Yeah, little children shouldn't play with guns. See what happens.
It's crazy. Meanwhile, in London, Ontario, the EM is her name, the victim in the case against the 5 hockey players that did play for Hockey Canada at the World Junior Hockey Championships, her cross-examination by the players' lawyers has now wrapped up. What did she do? 7 days on the stand?
Oh my gosh, it was so many.
That's crazy.
I feel
crazy
for her.
Anna.
I can't imagine. And to be honest, I'd feel like I'd go a little bonkers sitting there being asked similar questions in a different way. Do you know what I mean? And still making sure that everything is cohesive and the same. It's easy to trip up a little bit, right? And then I'll be like, I got you. So
there wasn't a whole lot interesting that came out of yesterday, but I will say that a couple of notes. There was some discussion with the final lawyer to go up. Like I said, each one of the players has a lawyer, and each one of those lawyers gets to cross-examine EM. The last player's lawyer went up there yesterday, and I don't know if this lawyer wasn't prepared or they thought that this would be effective, but there was a big debate about whether or not they were boys or men. Because at one point she referred to them as boys, and then she referred to them as men. There was also a suggestion that if she really wanted to leave, she would have put her shoes on. And she never did put her shoes on because she didn't intend to leave. The theory is the guys were all sitting there at the end laughing and joking, and she said she wanted to leave really as a means of getting their attention because she wanted more attention on herself. She wasn't actually intending to leave. It was well, if you guys are going to be boring, I'm leaving. And that was when they said, no, come on back in, blah, blah, blah. We'll pay attention to you. It's plausible to me. I could see how that would happen, but I'm just not sure who to believe in this case.
it's so, yeah, I could see that being one way the night went. But then also when we talk about, somebody like Cassie who's speaking her truth, who is a victim and who is consistently in situations like that over and over, who could have gone away but didn't because she was scared. Maybe that applies to EM. You just don't know. That's the thing. We don't know. And when she referred to the gentlemen, the hockey players, as boys, she said, yeah, we were 18 then. We're adults now. They're men now. So, but it's just a complicated situation. It's going to be interesting, to see what really comes out at the very end. Regardless, it's all very traumatizing for everybody involved.
For those who don't know, the way it works now is EM has finished her testimony. Then she's now finished the cross-examination, a week of that. Now she gets examined one last time by the Crown. And the Crown will clear up any loose ends, or if there's anything that's ambiguous, anything they need to clear up, they will get her to do that on the stand today. And then they move on to, I assume, the players.
Yeah, I'd like to see.
If they're going to testify.
I mean, shouldn't they? Shouldn't they get up there? And
it depends.
What do you think?
I don't know these players, their personality or their
either.
speaking style. I also don't know the story. I assume the lawyers know exactly what happened because the players probably told them to prepare their defense. I don't know if I would want my client up there on the stand talking about that. I just don't know how that plays to the jury. That's the reason that there's good lawyers and bad lawyers is because the good lawyers make that decision properly every time.
Yeah.
I think that I would like to hear from them. Just as I don't have a dog in this fight. I wasn't there, obviously, so it doesn't really affect me, but this trial is getting a lot of coverage, so I think I would like to hear from them. We've heard EM's side of the story. There were some holes poked in that by the cross-examining lawyers. Maybe now it is time to hear from the guys.
Yeah. The one thing I will say that is positive that's come out of this terrible situation is that I hope people are having conversations with their kids about, yes, no, consent, what could happen on a night out. You know what I mean? These are tough conversations. But again, we've said this before. I'd rather have a tough conversation than having to have these conversations regarding a very tough night.
When you say talk to your kids, what do you mean? Because I have a boy who's 24 and I have a girl who's 26. What conversation should I be having with a boy and with a girl?
And I know people are going to speak to their boy and their daughter a little bit differently. I know I have friends in my life who treat their boys differently than they treat their girls because they're a boy, they can take care of themselves. Where it's a girl, make sure, be careful with your drink. Put your hand over your drink if you aren't looking at it so nobody spikes your drink. Just little things like that. If you don't want to be in a position, you say no. If they touch you, that's not a pass to say that that's okay. If you don't want it, you say no. If you want it, that's different. That's the consent. But you got to make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. And you can't play the girl who cried wolf or the boy who cried wolf either. So
Okay. I think that the conversation, in my estimation, to have with your kids, if you're going to have one, is consent is essential.
Yeah.
And it can be withdrawn at any time. And really respect the person you're with. If you're willing to get naked with somebody and put any part of you in any part of them, you better be mature enough to make sure that what you're doing is agreed upon by everybody. And if you're not 100% sure, you stop. And if anybody says stop, you stop. It's really not a hard concept. You know, you're not owed sex here. So figure it out. If somebody says no, it's no. And this goes both ways too. Because some of the testimony that came out this week was that guys were hesitant to do stuff with EM and she pressured them.
And it's funny because there is that double standard. No, guys would always take it. But no, they
they
also
wouldn't
say
always take it. No.
Exactly. So that has to be very clear as well. Just because they're a guy or they're a hockey, whatever, they still have the right to say no and to be respected and not be, made fun of, let's say, by peers or whomever.
Okay, it's not Friday.
No.
We will do listener DMs Friday, and if you have a DM you want us to read or something you want us to address, by all means, send it in for Friday's episode. We have just a couple of them that I want to do here, though, because they're relevant to things we've been talking about this week. Listener DMs. All right, Anna, let's go.
Okay, first up from Anonymous. I have a question for Scott. If you could answer in the pod, how does the government ministers vote to give themselves a raise if they work for us, the people, and work for a company? I work for a company. I don't tell them what to pay me. They tell me what I get and when I get a raise.
I mean, essentially, they're the bosses.
Right.
They're essentially their own boss because there's no one above them that's going to set their pay rate. Can I tell you, though, I know that there's people who heard us talking about how much money these politicians in Ottawa are making.
It's too much.
They make far more than the municipal or provincial politicians. $419,000 for the prime minister. Come on. And he's already ultra wealthy to begin with. We've got cabinet ministers making, what, $3 something plus $150,000 in expenses.
Gosh.
Here's what I would like to propose. I know people are upset that they voted to give themselves a pay increase. They justify that by saying they're entitled to it. They haven't had one in a while and all this other nonsense. They'll come up with anything they have to because they want their raise. And I'm sure you would too. Anybody would want a raise. I'd like a raise right now.
Oh my gosh, right?
Now, it doesn't always work that way, and we're not management or the government, so we can't set our own rate. But here's what I want to tell you, Anna. We want the best and the brightest. And most of the Fortune 500 companies have CEOs that are making tens of millions of dollars a year, presumably because they're worth it to the company. I would like to get politicians in this country that are worth it to Canada. And what I mean by that is this. Right now, we've got a completely ass-backwards system where we set out a budget. And let's say your budget is $1 million a year. If you only spend $800,000, you think to yourself, oh my God, we got to spend $200,000 quick. Because if we don't spend the $1 million, they're only going to give us $800,000 next year. And they waste our money on dumb stuff. So how about we do this? How about we set our budget? The finance minister does it. We haven't had one in over a year, but let's have a budget and let's reward politicians for coming in under budget. Here's what I want to propose. You have $1 million budget. You only spent $800,000. Kick the other $200,000 back into the coffers there, but we're going to give you a cut of what you saved. How about politicians just make a regular minimum wage salary? Maybe they make the Canadian average, $67,000. But if they can find efficiencies that save the taxpayers money, if they stop wasting our money, they get a cut of everything they save. In theory, you could have some politicians making millions. But the only way they would make those millions is if they save us billions.
My gosh, you have my vote. I say this all the time.
Doesn't
but
that make
it
sense?
Makes so much sense.
Earn your money.
Earn it.
Just showing up isn't enough.
No, and I know a lot of people who work a lot harder that deserve the money that they're making that they'll never see in their lifetime.
Well, and I mean, Parliament hardly ever sits. These people are going to go back to Ottawa next week. We're going to have a throne speech. We're going to have like a 1-month session of Parliament, and then they're off for 3 months.
Right.
They've just come off of a 4-month vacation.
It makes me so mad.
It's ridiculous. Anyway, that's what I would do. I would reward them for saving money by giving them a cut of everything they save. You put $200,000 back in the coffers, you get $20,000. Straight up, here's your check.
Yeah, I love working for bonuses. Come on.
Seriously, I think that we would get much better qualified politicians if we did that.
Smarter. Okay, well, this next one is from Karen, and she says, "Hey, Scott, thanks again for your podcast. Love the energy you and Anna have." And so she basically was just wondering if we were going to cover the Diddy trial, and we did today, and I'm sure we're still going to continue on, of course, going forward. She went on to say, "I love your perspective, Scott, on all the current events."
Thank you. I appreciate that, Karen. And yeah, the Diddy stuff is important to me. I've been waiting a long time to get to this. I just want to know how far this is going to go. I want to know the scope. Are we going to get into the allegations that there were kids involved? Because I want to find out what happened to those kids, if they're okay, and get them whatever support they need.
I'm with you on that. Kimberly writes, "Hey, Scott, have been catching up on pods, and I'm so happy to hear you on the radio. Love Anna." Thank you. "Happy birthday to Max, her puppy. And hey, Anna, I used to also use a fake name at the bar." Just a couple comments to continue on. Okay. See, I'm not alone on the fake name.
I don't know why you girls do that. What is you're starting off something on a false premise. Tell them your real name.
I'm not going to start. I'm not starting anything on a false, whatever you just said. Because,
false premise.
Thank you. Because there's nothing to continue on with.
You don't know that.
I know that. That's why I gave the fake name.
But what's the problem if the guy that you're not interested in knows your real name? You're on the radio. You were on television for years.
He didn't earn my name. He doesn't know me.
Earn your name?
Yeah, he doesn't know me. Why do I need to give him my personal information? A name is a name. I can be Rachel. That's my name.
Rachel.
Rachel Green.
I was surprised. Maybe you're just dating guys that are too young, because I think most guys my age would know Rachel Green that's probably not your name.
No, I know, but they have never asked. They've never caught on. And not too young, by the way. I have dated boys. Oh, I need men in my life. All right. So Kimberly, she writes some of these things. "A couple teacher friends have told me, they struggle with kids tying shoes and even zipping up coats, even after letters were sent home asking parents to practice. Parking at Mississauga hospitals. They charge the staff, but some pay it forward to me for parking, so I continue that myself."
Good.
And then they go, I like you was a huge support. Like you, Scott, was a huge support of Trump, but this whole 51st state just turned me off. Gosh. I really want to know what the end game and his ties and support to Carney. Okay?
I do too. I really do. I want to know what the connection is with Trump and Carney. I want to know about this relationship that they have, this little bromance, because it seems like the voters were misled last week. It seems that way, that Trump and Carney were in on this together the whole time. I, like you, have completely lost interest and faith in Donald Trump, although I do think he's doing some good work right now over in the Middle East. Yesterday, he was in Saudi Arabia, and I've been told, Anna, that you are not allowed to touch the crown prince. Him and Trump are fist bumping. They're hugging each other. They're doing all sorts of stuff. In fact, when Trump finished his speech, that the crown prince of Saudi Arabia was sitting there watching front row. They even played his walk-up music. They played YMCA when he was done his speech. The crowd in Saudi Arabia was going nuts. They built they didn't build it. They brought in a mobile McDonald's so that Trump can have his Diet Coke. That's insane.
That's power.
But I do love that we're making smoother relations with the Middle East. And if Trump can get that done, great. Now, I realize that wasn't the crux of your question. I still want to know what Trump and Carney are up to. And what was the other point? Kids going to school unprepared.
Yes.
This is not a teacher thing. It's a parent thing. There's certain basics that your kids have to know how to do by a certain time. And if your kid can't tie their shoes by the time they're expected to do it, you've got to get them Velcro or some other option.
Slip-ons.
But it does not fall to the teacher to have to continuously do that. That's a parenting problem.
Next up, she writes, "When my son got a cell phone, he became the parent. He said, 'Ma, you can't text me during school.' I'd forget and send a quick text, and then he'd reply, 'Stop texting me, please.'"
Good.
So there you go.
Good when the kids realize.
Yeah. And then finally, she writes, "Told a few coworkers about you back on the radio and shared your pod. Take care." That's from Kimberly.
Thank you, Kimberly. I appreciate that. Anytime you can spread the word about the podcast is great. This is a bit of a pivot for us because we were so intensive on election coverage during the election campaign. Now the pod is starting to evolve into just sort of a daily, what you need to know, and a good conversation for wherever you happen to want to listen. Dog walking seems to be popular, as well as the car. But I'll take it any way we can get it. Thank you for listening. We appreciate it, Kimberly.
All right. Well, Vanessa says, "Scott, I'm listening to the Friday pod, and I love Ron DeSantos and his no property tax. We live in Oxford County in Southern Ontario, and we pay ridiculous taxes. My house is 2,200 square feet, and we pay $4,500 a year. My neighbor..."
If that house was in Mississauga or Burlington, you'd be paid over $6,000 a year.
It's wild. Well, she writes, my neighbor pays over $10,000. Yes, her house is bigger. We have no sidewalks and we have to pay $2 per garbage bag and soon to be $3 a bag. We didn't get a big junk pickup like Kitchener does. We get one free dump a year and our snow plows suck.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have no community centers or any real services. So our Lions Club and school, they have to fundraise for everything. Property taxes suck. I don't mind paying for garbage and stuff on a per use basis, but I don't want to pay property taxes.
I think we've really got to change around the property tax system because there's people paying for stuff that they're not getting. They're just not getting it. There's somebody who doesn't even have sidewalks.
No.
She pays per bag for garbage. What does the property taxes cover?
Yeah.
There's no community centers, but she's paying $4,500 a year in property taxes to live in the country. Get the hell out of here. That is just a waste. You know what, Anna? I was talking about Doug Ford earlier. You know what, Doug? If you want to do this, I'll support you 100%. Scrap every municipality. Fire every single mayor in Ontario. The regions that are set up right now are perfectly fine to run those municipalities. We don't need city mayors, city councilors, and waste. We just don't need it anymore. When they're prioritizing painting rainbow sidewalks with your tax dollars and not prioritizing families that can't afford their groceries, that's a massive problem. When they're building these Taj Mahal community centers, when they've already got enough community centers and libraries, that means they've lost touch. We could save billions by getting rid of the entire municipal government. Regions can be the point people and everything else gets uploaded to the province. That's how we should do it.
Well, I'm going to keep with the property taxes with this next one. David writes, hey guys, just wanted to reach out about a story. As a Canadian living in Florida, I agree property taxes suck, and I would 100% agree with removing them in Ontario. But Florida is different in my opinion. Florida is a second home state, but by that I mean so many people have their second homes here. I think if the state pulls property taxes, it will lose a ton of tax money from the multiple $million-dollar mansions. So if they have to raise other taxes, such as sales taxes, to recover the lost income, I see that as a detriment to the locals having to recoup that lost income. When you look at Zillow down here, it's not uncommon to see lots of $10 million plus homes. I just rather not pay more sales tax to make up for them when they can easily skirt the system by buying stuff in tax-free states. Thus, they will avoid property taxes and sale taxes. Thank you for the great work you both do. And Anna, you're a great addition to the show. Thank you. I love hearing how you both bring logic-based thoughts to tough discussions, and really try not to sway people, but rather educate and create decisions points for debate.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I mean, every listener isn't sitting in the studio with us, so all you get is our opinion, but we're not here to change your mind. If you feel passionately that, no, we shouldn't buy back the 407, I respect that. Mm-hmm. We can have that debate. It's just, like I said, you're not here. So you got to DM me on that. But I'll read DMs from people who disagree with me. And I do appreciate that there are people out there who feel the way they feel. And I'm not trying to change anybody's mind.
Yeah.
The property taxes thing, I think we got to work this out. It's costing way too much money. And for the amount of money we spend, we're not getting that value in return. What does the city really do? You know, I mean, if you don't ride their local transit system and you don't use their libraries, that's me. I don't use either of them. Mm-hmm. I don't go to our community centers. They're there for everybody, but I don't use them. Mm-hmm. I don't use the ice rinks. I don't use the ball diamonds. I don't use any of those things. All I want from the city is for the sewers to work, for water to come out of the tap, garbage to get picked up, and the snow to get cleared. I don't know why I'm paying almost $7,000 a year in taxes for that for a regular run-of-the-mill subdivision house. It's waste. And when I see that money being wasted on dumb stuff, when I see every municipality, all the municipal workers driving around in brand new F-150s. What are you doing? You didn't need to get an F-150 to drive a lawnmower.
No.
Get out of here.
Here.
What are we wasting money on that for?
Because we see you.
Fund our police department appropriately, get the snow cleared, pick up the garbage, and piss off.
Yes.
That's all we want our tax money to do. And if people want another community center, how about we fundraise for that? Mm-hmm. You want another library in 2025 when everything is available online? Okay, if you want the building, pay to use it. Mm-hmm. And then we'll see how many people are interested in libraries when you got to pay $5 to get in.
No doubt. Get more doctors, more nurses, and less waiting.
Let's
in
just
the
start
staff.
spending our
Yep.
tax dollars on things that actually matter and stop spending them on virtue signaling garbage. There's a good one.
Oh, that's a good bite. I should make that as like a sound bite
Well,
on
the
my
virtue
phone.
signaling is nuts. The amount of money we spend painting crosswalks and sidewalks in this country is ridiculous. There's just no good reason for it. It's
Yeah.
not even practical.
No.
The paint is slippery. People drive on it, and then you get pissed that there's tire marks on it.
Right.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a topic for another day.
But I love it. Okay, so Christine, she wrote us about kids not having jobs. So she's like totally relate to regarding there are no jobs for high school students. My daughter, who is turning 16 in July, has been looking since November and has not received a call back until now. It's so frustrating because she actually wants to work and make her own money. I remember being that young and doing and wanting the same things.
Yeah, there's no jobs for kids. It's scary. Like, I got a 16-year-old at home that should be working now. He should be working. He wants to save money to buy a car, to pay for his insurance, and to do the things he wants to do. Zero prospects. No grocery store, no fast food restaurant, no convenience store, nothing. Nobody is hiring kids. Although I did just hear yesterday, McDonald's is going to hire 22,000 more part-time employees. That's not a ton. I think that's like 2 people per store. But that's specifically to address youth unemployment. They're going to offer those positions to young people. Great by McDonald's. Let's see everybody else step this up. Who are all these people that are doing these jobs that used to be for young people? Now, you don't see as many young people working at a fast food restaurant. You see adults. Who are they? Could they not get anything else? Is that all they're qualified to do? Is that their second job? I think that's what it is. It's a second job. Older people coming out of retirement.
Yep.
They're just taking jobs from young people, and those jobs are rightfully young people's. We all had them growing up, and they don't exist anymore. And I think that's just one more way we've screwed the younger generation.
It's so tough. Okay, well, let's lighten things up a little bit. Drea writes, hey, Scott, I wanted to chime in on today's pod and the silent date you mentioned.
Okay.
I totally agree with Anna. Communicating is basic, especially when you're meeting someone new. A person who asks for a silent date, by the way, never heard of that before. It screams to me complicated, mental health issues, or just an inability to function as an adult. Especially for your friend, I am sure after a divorce, complicated is the last thing he is looking for. I'm happily married, but if I was out in the wild, actively looking, I would stay away from anyone who requested this so-called silent date. It's a massive red flag. And down the road, even if you ended up with this person, what about simple conflict resolution? Would they send a meme or an emoji instead of talking it out?
Hey, I get it. It's a weird thing for some people, and we're actually almost out of time here, so I'm not even going to be able to do the cabinet stuff in this episode. But I like this message, so I'm going to respond to it. Thank you for that. It was... What's the name?
Drea.
Drea. I think that this is just the first date. Just one date. Just get to know them a little bit. If you decide, you know what? I actually kind of like this person. I'll go out with them again. Put the phone down and have the communication. This is just an icebreaker, Anna.
It's so not. And you're happily in a relationship. Get out of here. You don't know. If you were out in the wild like us, you would get, well, she's not. She's happily married too. Okay, forget you two. No, it's tough. It's a tough go. But thank you so much for having my back there, girl. All right, next up, and we only have 2 short messages, okay?
Real quick.
Derek says, love the vibe you two have. I've always been a fan. Anna adds a perfect opposite to you, kind of like Kat did in ways. You both bounce off each other well. That's
Thank
from
you.
Derek.
I agree with you, Derek.
Aw. And then Melissa, this is who we're wrapping up with. I really like Anna. You two sound great together, and I love her perspective on the pod. Thank you, Melissa.
You do bring a lot, Anna, and I appreciate you every single day.
I appreciate you.
Friends, I'm sorry. I really wanted to do this cabinet stuff, but I'll tell you, what's old is new again, and what's new is actually old again. Yep. The cabinet is very similar to the last one. I'll try and throw some thoughts on that into tomorrow's episode. In the meantime, have a great day, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Oh, yeah.